No nigga, baby, let's face it. I've been really feel like this in a minute. Yeah, that demons in my soul got my image. You ain't gotta trust me, baby.
All right, cool. All right, Dave. So, for those of you who don't know you, just talk a little bit about where you're from, where you grew up, and inspiration, sports growing up. Just give us a little background of who you are.
Yeah, so JMO played Colorado Chaos. I'm David Matthews. I run the Colorado Chaos. So, 23rd year coming up. We've had a long history of alumni coming through. A lot of guys that have been on his podcast before. Colby Ross, Elijah Ross, himself. I don't know who else you've had on here, but I'm sure you've had some other Chaos guys keeping it in the
Definitely.
family. But yeah, man, so 23 years and 460 kids that the Chaos has put in college and 42 pros, and really proud of what we've done. And JMO was a big part of that. So where I'm from, I'm born and raised Colorado. I'm from Lakewood, went to Green Mountain High School, went to CSU, started Colorado Chaos just with one little 8th grade team that I coached when I was my first or second year of college. And it just grew and grew and grew and ballooned and to where we are today. So proud to help Colorado kids hopefully use basketball as a tool to achieve their dreams. So
Definitely. So, what was like your inspiration? Did you ever play AAU yourself?
Man, so I'm old, JMO. I'm almost 42, man. There really wasn't there was like maybe one like super all-star team, and that wasn't me, man. So that was, I mean, I was okay, but yeah, that wasn't me. And we were cold at Green Mountain when I went there. I think my junior year we were ranked like 24th in the country at one point, and
Yeah.
we had two Division I players a year ahead of me, and we were nice. So, but I just wanted to stay involved and just wanted to start coaching. So my second year of college, I coached a pretty good little 8th grade team, and just kind of kept those guys going in the spring, kind of transitioned from Gold Crown to the spring, and just kept going. And then the next year, just started going out and recruiting kids and getting more aggressive. I think the second year, there's been me and my college roommate, and we had like the two of us coached 3 teams, the 17s, the 16s, and the 15s, and then it ballooned. I think at one time we had like 16 teams or something one year, and and then other clubs are popping up and stuff like that. So it's tougher to do quite as many teams, that aren't first team or second team. If you're trying to do 4 or 5 teams per age, somebody's going to recruit guys to play on their, elite team and stuff. So it's tougher. Plus, I got my own kids now, so man, priorities change as they should. So
Right. So, how long did it take for you to like finally get Chaos off the ground and start sending kids out to different states to compete? How long did that take for you to manage to be like, okay, I know I have these good amount of players to take over here, but what about like the funds, and how long did all that take for you to line all that up and to finally take off?
So probably year 3 was, I think, the first year that we traveled, and I was fortunate enough to get some really good players. I had Sean Tybee, who played at UNC, Corey Sperry, who played football at CSU and played in the NFL for a while, and had a couple good players already in year 3, and then we had Nick Fazikis, who was, he's still playing professionally over in Japan, and he played for the Clippers and the Mavericks for, had a little cup of coffee with those guys. But, so we had some guys, Brian Anderson, who went to Utah right after Utah had gone to the Final Four. So we were fortunate enough early in the Chaos to get some really good players, and then to hit the road and travel. So, and we used to travel, just jump in vans and hit the road, man. We played the Mr. Basketball tournament in Kearney, and then went straight to Indianapolis, then straight to Kentucky, then straight to Dallas, then home for like 3 days, then then we always used to do Vegas and LA back to back the last 10 days of July, usually when live periods were structured a little differently than they are now. So,
Right.
but probably year 3 was the first year we really had a decent, like the second year we had a 17-year-old team, but it was kind of a combined with 16s and 17s. And year 3 was the first year we really had kind of a dedicated 17-year-old team. And that was the first year really kind of traveled a lot and took off. So
Definitely. So year 3. So you mentioned your roommate, or right? Was that your roommate that helps you start coaching?
My college roommate. So, and he had coached. He was, we went to CSU. He was coaching at Mountain View up in Loveland, and then he coached at Brighton and stuff. So, I mean, he had coached and just gave us something to do in the summers, basically.
Definitely. So, who else did you like? How can I put this? What other people did you need for you to make your program what it is now?
Well, then I just started getting connected with more and more coaches and more players that I know a lot. Our coaching chaos coaching tree is just as impressive as our playing tree. So Mike Puccio, he coached our 17s elite team for a long time. Once the program kind of got big enough where I wasn't coaching the top team anymore.
Right.
And he was kind of the first coach besides me to coach our top team. And he's the current Green Mountain head coach, and he's done a great job. And then Brett Clopefield took over for our top 17s, who was your coach. And he was at Greeley West, and he had the top team he had probably our best teams we've ever had. Like your team, JMO, and the team with Josh Scott and those guys. Those were probably our 2 best teams we've ever had. And that was Brett, and he's coaching at UNC now. And I can go on and on about coaches that have come through, but I just got good coaches. Some of them are young guys, they were just hungry and unmarried and wanted something to do. Some of them were, like varsity level coaches who had sons on the teams, maybe like Jeff Kloster from Longmont or Mark Drury from Littleton. Like, they were really good coaches, but they had really talented sons, so they just wanted to stay involved with their sons. Chad Belville from Cheyenne Mountain, guys like that. So just kind of kept growing the network of coaches. So
definitely. So how do you find all these tournaments? Are you just signing up for them? Do you have to get accepted to them? How does that work? I don't know how that works. We just showed up and played. So what's that aspect like? How do you handle getting in certain tournaments, especially like the big ones?
Yeah, I mean, any tournament will probably take anybody's money, but the key for us is making sure at least our top teams are playing in sort of the right divisions or the open pools and stuff like that. Like, we've been on the Adidas Circuit and the New York to LA Circuit and stuff like that. And those are obviously invitation only, but like when you were playing, we used to do the Fab 48 in Vegas and stuff, and anybody could play there in some division. But the key for us is, the players we've had and the reputation we had, and then just the talented teams we had got us in the top divisions and the top pools, like playing at Bishop Gorman in front of, every college coach in the country, a whole lot different than playing in the silver division at another rec center out in the suburbs and stuff. So just kind of earning that opportunity to compete at a high level. So, I mean, anybody could play in any tournament probably, but that's not what it's about for us. It's about competing with and against the best.
Exactly. So what would you say is like the biggest tournament Chaos has ever been a part of?
Ever won or been a part of it?
No, ever been a part of.
It's always been Vegas. I mean, until kind of the recruiting rules changed about 3 years ago or two years ago, and then COVID hit. Teams still go to Vegas, but forever, for the first 20 years of the 23 years I've been doing Chaos, Vegas was the epicenter of club basketball, always at the end of July, usually the last or the next to last tournament. And whether it was Fab 48 or the Reebok Big Time or the main event that the Nike teams were in. Like Vegas was where it was the epicenter of club basketball always, every year.
Definitely. That's dope. So you mentioned the Adidas Circuit. How long did that take to pull that string?
We were off and on before you. When Reebok was really big and OJ Mayo and let's see, Derrick Rose and Eric Gordon and guys like that were playing. Kevin Love. Reebok was really big, and we were a sponsored Reebok team, and then for a couple years we were with Fila, and for a couple years we were with Adidas. But it's just hard for a Colorado team when we're not putting NBA guys, on high major programs every single year. It's hard for those shoe companies to find it worthwhile to sponsor teams. So,
Right.
but the Adidas thing, like when we were with you, we were there for a couple years, and they had their gauntlet thing, they called it. We went to Dallas, we went to Atlanta. I forget where else we went, but I know in the spring it was Dallas and Atlanta, and then I forget where it was in July. So
Definitely.
we always played those good events.
That's dope.
The
So what is
it's always been a favorite of mine.
So how do you keep getting the best players to come play for Chaos, given that you have big clubs like Chauncey and the Hawks, and now you got Pluto coming out of Springs that's getting big? How do you manage that?
I mean, there's a number of good ones. The Titans do a good job. The Miners have always done a good job. I mean, there's probably 6 to 8 legitimate programs that kind of where those top 40 kind of players in each class, like for the most part, that's where those guys will play, instead of on the little kind of cul-de-sac teams where they're just one team here and there, a parent that's still coaching. They might have a good player here and there, or they kind of stick with playing with their high school buddies. But I mean, there's lots of good programs and lots of good options. So everybody has to find. I always say you got to find your fit, right? Like if Chaos is your fit, great. If somebody else is your fit, great. But if you're a legitimate college prospect, by the time you get 16 and especially 17, like you probably need to be with one of those top groups. So we just keep marketing and recruiting guys and talking to players and parents and seeing if it's the right fit, and we know what we do well. In 23 years, I've never been the guy that's been the politician and you're trying to get kids to play for you, and I'm going to go talk bad about another program. Like everybody works hard, right? Like I'm not the only one that works hard. I just know what I do well, and 460 players in college, the numbers don't lie as far as what we are very good at. Now if you're a younger player or somebody and you want to practice 3 times a week, something like that, like that might not be us, because we have guys, from all over the place geographically. So it's tough to do that. So we practice as much as we can, but if practice is what you're looking for, maybe another program's what you want. So, but if being a college basketball player is what you're looking for, nobody has a track record. Nobody markets guys like we do. And that's just what I tell guys. So, but we're at the point this year, like I'll recruit guys. I'll go after guys. I'll try to get the best rosters we can. We'll always have really talented rosters, especially our top team at each age. But mostly we just want guys that want to be there and want to buy in and want to go compete with us, and aren't going to be looking over their shoulder every time they're not in at the end of the game or they face some adversity or something. We just want buy-in guys that buy in with attitude, buy in with commitment. And we've had that for the last 3 or 4 years. We've been blessed.
That's dope. So you, I know this, but everyone else don't. Do you want to just talk about how when we go out of state and you're handing out papers of the rosters and just talking to coaches and just talk about like where you get that demeanor to just be so all about the guys or your players and just want them to succeed and be seen by the best coaches and play against the best players. So you want to just elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, for sure. Like I kind of said before, like we want to play in the gyms that have the coaches there, or the gyms that have the best competition. And we know sometimes we're not the draw. Sometimes coaches will be coming to watch another team or another player, or they have a top 50 player, a top 25 blue chip kind of player. And we got, Auburn and Kentucky and Indiana coming to watch us and stuff. And maybe they're not actually watching us, but the trickle down effect happens. So that's really why I haven't coached in a couple of years. I did coach our top team, 3 years ago with Caleb McGill and those guys, but generally I don't coach because my job, what I love doing is marketing. I let my coaches do their job. I don't, I give them suggestions and stuff, but I kind of let them run sets and plays and do lineups how they want and stuff like that. And then while I'm out marketing and I got the blue sheets I pass out, every coach knows, oh, there you are with your blue sheets. I print them off on baby blue colored paper, and they got all of our info, including academic info, cell phone numbers, because the tournament rosters, like they'll have rosters, usually like the info that you submit to the NCAA website, but it doesn't have academic info. A lot of times it doesn't have the players' cell numbers and stuff like that. So, I'm in there talking, and at the live period events, I can't really talk to the Division I coaches. I can brush past them and stuff, but the meat of the guys that we have are the D2, the NAI, the D3 type of guys, and I can talk to those guys on the sidelines. So I'm sitting there talking and building relationships and talking our guys up, but being realistic at the same time, not overhyping like, hey, this kid that hasn't made a 3-pointer in 3 straight tournaments, he's your guy. That's your shooter. I'm realistic about where guys are. So and coaches have come to know that and respect that about me. Like they asked me about, hey, one of your kids contacted me. How is he? I'm like, yeah, he's not good enough for you, coach. But I'm realistic about that, and that's the
Exactly.
trust that we've developed. So when I do call, another coach, I'm like, say, hey, we got this, 6'3" shooter, blah blah blah. Once you guys take a look at them, they listen. So
That's dope. So what have you achieved? What goals have you set when you started Chaos, and what goals have you achieved so far?
Man, I didn't really set any goals. I just wanted to be in the gym and be a part of basketball. And as it kind of grew, I, really enjoyed being a part of helping guys, achieve their dream of playing in college, and even beyond that, just helping our players be better, not only players, but better young men. And as you know, like we do individual recruiting meetings, we do leadership training stuff, we do media training with guys and try to teach them how, I hate when you see a guy interviewed and they're full of ums and uhs and pauses and not looking at the interviewer and the camera and stuff like that. So we try to teach guys that. We try to teach guys how to be leaders in their community, whether it's in their schools, in their families, wherever. Usually it's their schools and their teams, and try to go beyond basketball and try to breed the best leaders we can. And then, your Chaos family for life is my opinion. Like once you graduate, once you find your college, like you're still a Chaos guy. I love seeing, talking to you, former players. I love seeing guys in the gym. I love, just getting texts or calls from guys and just seeing how they're doing, and like, hey man, I got a baby now, stuff like that. Like, dang man, like it's just cool to stay connected to all these awesome young men that came to the program and their families. I mean, we've had, awesome families. I mean, your family's one of them, obviously. So
Definitely. That's super dope to hear. Thank you. So that being said, what do you have planned for this upcoming AAU season?
Oh, we'll see. I'm not quite sure what circuit we're going to be on now that all the COVID restrictions are off. We had been on the New York to LA circuit, and then the COVID year of 2019, there really wasn't any kind of circuit. And last year we did not do New York to LA, but we might be back there on that circuit this year. I mean, we'll sprinkle in some prep hoops events. Now, the schedules for the whole spring and summer really aren't out yet, so we got to kind of evaluate what we're doing. We obviously host our Top of the Rockies tournament on Mother's Day weekend, but we'll be at it per usual. We'll play, at least our top groups will play out of state more than in state. Probably out of state twice in April, for sure once in May, and at least twice in July. But I'm just not sure which events those will be at and which locations. So we really enjoyed the one we went to in Omaha this past year, so that might be on the list again. We've always liked Kansas City. Dallas is always some good events, stuff like that. Vegas has always been good. Los Angeles, so Milwaukee. We'll see.
So that's
we should be
crazy.
good. We got some really good players from our 16s. Simon Kibbe from Grandview and Kyle Hayden from Doherty and guys like that who are really, really high level guys. And if we add some nice pieces to that too, we should have a really good 17-year-old team this year. And then I'm not sure if some of our current 2022 guys, which is a disaster as far as recruiting goes, because the continued ripple effect with the pandemic, if some of those guys will be looking at the prep school route and they might be playing. I'm not sure. We had a really, really good group this year.
That's dope. I'm gonna have to get out for sure and go check you guys out.
Yeah, we were tough this year. We had good guards, good bigs, good 7-foot big guy that could play. And I feel like the best guard in the state played for us, and Brock Mishak from Fossil Ridge. So we had some guys, man.
He graduated, or he's going to be a senior this year.
Senior this year, yeah.
Okay.
This year, yeah.
So, another question I was going to ask. I'm out of the high school world, so I don't know none of these dudes. So who's top of the class right now besides the fall guy that's at the prep school with Ray Valdez? Who's buzzing?
So Bay's only a junior, man.
Are you serious?
Yeah, he's only a junior.
Oh my!
I mean, I've seen him as high as like third in the country in various rankings, but he can go, man. So I don't know. It's interesting to see who the top guys are this year, and the only ranking sort of is Prep Hoops. The one kid, Zach Keller from Thunder Ridge, he's got a lot of nice looking offers on the table, like a bunch of Pac-12 and Big 12 and stuff like that, and he can go. But Langston Reynolds is a good guard who I'm hearing has a number of visits set up, and he can go. I don't know. There's a bunch of good ones this year, so it's tough to say because it's weird that, I mean, not too many of them have legitimate committable offers right now, as opposed to how it is in a normal year when, you get the top 10 or 12 guys all have legitimate committable offers, and
exactly.
I know it's not that many. I mean, there's a couple guys who are committed, but it's a tough year. So, but yeah, Bay falls probably. I mean, he's the best player in the state, regardless of class. But yeah, he's only a junior, so
that's crazy.
Yeah.
So I was gonna ask you.
He's a pro, man. He's like that.
That's crazy. So I was gonna ask you, do you think like the talent and the size level is way different compared to when we were playing? Like, do you feel like it's a different generation, or because like I'm just like, we would kill all these teams. Like, none of these teams would be able to hang with us, and I just feel like they're smaller, they're not as skilled. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
I mean, small is the key nowadays, right? Like guards, even big guys are guards now. Like everybody can shoot threes. Big guys better be able to guard away from the rim. Like the day of the slow-footed big man is numbered.
Right.
Because everybody has to guard away from the rim. So like even our 7-foot guy we had, JP Shears, he had to guard away from the rim a lot of times. Everybody's extending it. So, coaches are getting creative and finding ways. But, I mean, your team was cold, man. They were good. So we had some dudes. So I don't know. You might beat these guys. So we had a good group this year. It'd be fun to match up what were you, the 2015 Colorado 16 or something, Chaos 17's the league.
17th, yeah, 17th.
I think we were the D1 ambassadors at the time too, and
Oh yeah,
against our group this year, it'd be a pretty good matchup. So
I
we'll
love
see.
it.
I mean, that backcourt we had with you though was just unbelievable. So
For real.
you guys on
That
the
was
podcast
fun.
knows it was JMO and it was Colby Ross, who everybody knows about. We had Corey Sang, kind of as the three
He was
man
our sleeper.
Yeah. So that was a hell of a good backcourt. And Colby was Colby every game, and JMO had probably the best July, maybe of any guard we've ever had. I'm not in 23 years. I'm not overhyping JMO.
I
Like
know.
you were just a straight dog that July. Like it was unbelievable. You were just a killer, bro. Coach Klopfel and I were just talking about it like a week ago. How you were really like we knew Colby was always going to be good, and you were really that X factor that was just. I mean, you were as good as Colby every game. But I mean, honestly, you were just a dog, man. You were awesome on both ends of the floor.
Definitely. Thank you for that. I miss it. I do miss it. But this is why I do this. This is why I do this,
man. Come to a practice. Come give these young cats a run, man.
Yeah, I definitely want to for sure. But all right, to close this off, I gotta put this pressure on you, Dave. Who's the best Chaos team that you've had so far?
Oh, you know, I gotta say your team, right?
Let's go.
You know, I gotta say your team.
I do it.
You know, I gotta say your team. Hey, but if I'm being honest though, JMO, it was the Josh Scott team, man.
No way. They were nice like that.
Dude,
I think he would have killed us, Scott, because Jake would have had no chance.
I mean, he killed everybody, right? Like he played like on that team. We had Division I players coming off the bench, right? So we had Jalen Little. I'm gonna read this roster. We had Jalen Little played at Abilene Christian, Tanner Sampson at Elon, Caleb Rodriguez came off the bench, played at Cal in the Pac-12. Josh played at CU. Nate Engesser played at DU. Josh's little brother Jordan played at Idaho. I mean, those are all Division I players. Not to mention Alex Welsh, who played at UCCS and was an All-American there and played professionally, and Nathan Rindels, who had a All-American career at Dort. Like that team was.
Damn, that shit sounds stacked.
And they got along. That's the whole, like, there's always talent, right? Like,
right, exactly.
There's always be talented teams, but if you're going to play as a Colorado team, even the most talented Colorado team you can field on the road, you're going to play guys just as talented as you. So chemistry is huge, man, and buy-in from guys who aren't in the game, and when they come in, knowing their role and stuff like that. Like everybody's a stud coming to a club team. So the most successful and winning club teams sometimes aren't the most talented club teams. They're the guys that buy in, that play for each other, that love each other. So I think that's what put your group with you and Colby and Jake Belknap and Corey Sang and Manny and Colin Raridan, JT Bly, Caden Sund, those guys. I think that's what put you guys there, that you guys just all bought in. Like you all loved each other on and off the court. Like
exactly.
it was a good group, man. Then you made Coach Cloakfield's job easy.
Definitely. That's dope. Well, all right, Dave, I appreciate you for coming on here, chatting up with me. I really do.